Bienvenidos a este tercer y último webinar de nuestra triada de conferencias magistrales. Esta triada la ha presentado con mucha organización y con grandes ponentes la Asociación Mexicana de Medicina de Estilo de Vida. Y el día de hoy tengo el honor de presentarles a un prestigioso médico y conferencista, el doctor Panjak, y con su conferencia titulada Lifestyle Medicine, The Disruptive Innovation. Les voy a resumir un poco su biografía y vamos a dejar todas las preguntas, vamos a hacer una sesión de preguntas y respuestas terminando la ponencia de forma escrita. Y si quieren y si les van saliendo preguntas durante la ponencia, irlas anotando en el chat. Les cuento, el doctor Panjak es médico internista por el All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Es el actual director de Lifestyle Medicine Global Alliance y es miembro de la Junta de Directores del American College of Lifestyle Medicine. Es un prestigioso autor y conferencista y obviamente en su práctica clínica aplica la medicina de estilo de vida con todos sus pacientes. Él utiliza programas para prevenir y revertir enfermedades como la diabetes, la obesidad, enfermedades cardíacas y algunas otras enfermedades metabólicas, siempre atendiendo y tratando las causas de esto. Entre otras publicaciones y conferencias, el doctor es autor del libro Turbometabolismo, 8 semanas para un nuevo yo, y actualmente participará como ponente magistral en el Congreso de Lifestyle Medicine Brasil. Entonces, bueno, pues para nosotros es un gusto tenerlo aquí. Dr. Vich, I don't know how's your Spanish, but I already presented you and presented a little bit of your background. So whenever you're ready, we are so thrilled and so excited to hear you and to listen everything you have to say to us.
Gracias, Ms. Gabriela. I speak un poquito español, just enough to get me in trouble. I know all the bad words, so delighted. Thank you so much for the invitation and the introduction. And in Mexico, I was asked to talk about lifestyle medicine, the disruptive innovation, and I thought that was a particularly interesting caption because when we think about it, it really truly is something that can potentially disrupt the way we practice medicine and think about health. Again, my name is Pankaj Vij. Amongst the other things that Gabby presented, I also started something called Crack the Wellness Code. I was the chief architect of Crack the Wellness Code, where we present actionable, evidence-based information directly to our patients, to the public. And this is a free public service platform that we have started. Lifestyle medicine is about optimizing the master levers of health, which are what we do with our feet, forks and fingers, sleep, stress, and love. And because we believe that 80% of health is about these 6 simple things. And this is a disruptive innovation because all 6 of these are absolutely and directly within our control, within the control of the innovation. So what is disruptive innovation? I researched this after Victor asked me to talk about this, and it turns out that there was a professor by the name of Clayton Christensen at the Harvard Business School who came up with this idea. And essentially, it's an innovation that completely disrupts the status quo. And one of his Professor Christensen's quotes is, the reason why it's so difficult for existing firms to capitalize on disruptive innovation is that their processes and their business model that makes them good at the existing business can actually make them bad at competing for the disruption. This is so interesting when we think about what's happening in healthcare right now, and even in the middle of this COVID-19 global pandemic, which is affecting every single human on the planet. And we think about the way that we've been doing things, all of a sudden, the circumstances, the environment got turned upside down, and the way that we were used to doing things for centuries, all of a sudden doesn't work anymore. We're also finding that people with chronic diseases are the ones that are the most likely to die from this virus. So there's a direct correlation between obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, restrictive lung diseases, smoking, and all the things that we talk about in lifestyle medicine are the same ones that people are dying from in this pandemic. And this was particularly a quote that came right to the forefront of my thinking when I was asked to talk about disruptive innovation. Nothing else in the world, not all the armies, nothing is so powerful as an idea whose time has come. This was from the French poet Victor Hugo, and he said this almost 200 years ago. He was born almost 200 years ago. And this is so true even now. And we in lifestyle medicine believe that this is an idea whose time has finally come, where the writing is on the wall, where if you don't wake up now and pay attention to what's happening, you never will. Because it's more evident now than ever that lifestyle is literally what determines the difference between life and death. So what are the pillars of lifestyle medicine? Like I said, it's feet, forks, fingers, sleep, stress, love. I love this logo for the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, which is eat plants, keep moving, right? Eat plants because that's what your body is designed to eat. Keep moving because that's what your body is designed to do. Sleep well because your body is designed to rejuvenate itself when you sleep. Be present and stay calm. And when we stay present and we stay mindful, we automatically stay calm because no matter what's going on in this present moment, we're actually doing pretty good. And develop relationships, love people. And this again has become so evident in the time of the pandemic. You look at these things, people that eat plants and keep moving and sleep well are probably going to have a stronger immune system to A, not get COVID, and B, to be able to fight it and recover if they do. And the last three that you look at, be present and stay calm. I mean, when is it more obvious that we need to be present and stay calm than now when everybody seems to be panicking and running around scared? And love people. We talk about physical distancing and staying in our social bubbles. Well, this time more than any is the time when we need to foster those relationships and reach out to friends, like many of us have reached out to friends that we hadn't maybe talked to in months or years, because relationships are what keeps us calm and present. And relationships help us to eat the right foods, to have the right habits, to exercise, and to sleep well. So it really boils down to these 6 pillars. And as simple as it sounds, this is a disruptive innovation. So let's go to 1948. The World Health Organization, in 1948, when it was established, defined health, and it defined it as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And again, if you try to dissect this definition a little bit, you think about the different factors. Physical health is all about food. Food, it determines 80% of your physical health. Mental health is about staying calm and having those relationships. And social well-being is again about how well we harmonize with the people around us and the planet. So it's not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And you look at all the places where we don't have this sort of balance, where we don't have equity in the societies, that's where the whole society starts to fall apart and goes into turmoil. Let's think about our model of healthcare delivery. And this is really worldwide. I know this is not limited to Mexico or the United States or India, where I grew up. We have evolved into this reactive model of healthcare, where we're really good at sending an ambulance when somebody is having a heart attack. We're really good at prescribing antibiotics or giving an injection and telling people what to do. It's a prescriptive model of healthcare delivery, where I am the boss and I have all the knowledge and information. And if you do this, your life is going to be okay. If you don't do what I say, then you're going to get into trouble. But what we're learning is that that's not really working very well, is it? Because we're in, way before the pandemic started, we're in a global epidemic of obesity and diabetes. So we're not doing a really good job in keeping people healthy if we go by the World Health Organization definition of health. On the other hand, lifestyle medicine is about being proactive, about democratizing that information and giving the knowledge to the person so that they can make their own decision. And when they make a decision based on their own volition, it's likely that they're going to make the right decision when it comes to what type of foods to eat, what type of movement they like, how they connect with others, and how they manage stress. So again, the bottom line is these master levers of health are what we do with our feet, forks, and fingers: sleep, stress, and love. And lifestyle medicine is about providing the right information to the right person at the right time so that they can make their own choices. And I think this is a disruptive innovation because we have so many ways to be able to do that, right? I don't know about you, but almost everybody that I see has already diagnosed themselves on the internet. People are going to Google and they already make their diagnosis. They only come to see the doctor for a second opinion. You can go to YouTube and find information about just about anything. And if you've been watching our election in the United States, you know that different news channels compete, and there's so much information and misinformation going back and forth that you can believe whatever you want to believe based on what channels you subscribe to. And the same thing holds true for health information. How does someone know where to find the right information and whether what they're finding is actually evidence-based or not? Well, I think that's where, as practitioners of lifestyle medicine, our role comes in. And it becomes so important because we are seen as the experts, and we need to take on that role of the experts to have the right knowledge, the right information, to practice those lifestyles ourselves, because that's the most powerful way to convince somebody to do something, is by doing it yourself and say, look, I'm doing it. This is what it feels like. This is what you will look like if you do what I told you I did. This is the bike that I ride. These are the shoes that I'm wearing to go running. This is where I buy my plant-based foods. And when you tell them that way, it's so much more powerful. And that's the message of lifestyle medicine, where we arm ourselves with that information, right? So we know what the truth is, and then we can share that with our patients. It's about putting consumers in the driver's seat, right? Because until now, we have tended not to use the biggest resource in healthcare, the patients themselves. And again, in that model of prescriptive medicine, we've gotten in this position where we tell people what to do, and then we can see whether they do it or not. And oftentimes they don't. In my practice, my office is on the second floor. It's upstairs. So I see a patient in my exam room. I write them a prescription, and then I can see them walking out the door. Oftentimes they didn't even go to the pharmacy because I see them getting in their car and driving away. That's the weakness of a prescriptive model. In the proactive model, where you're putting the person in charge, you give them the information, and they make the decision from themselves, they're much more likely to actually follow through when the consumer is in the driver's seat. And what's really cool about this time now, with everything that we're learning with home monitoring devices, and especially now with all the telemedicine that we've been able to do in the pandemic, is that we can put our patients in charge. And in the conventional model of doing things where someone would come in for a doctor's appointment once every 3 months or once every 6 months, they would get a blood test. You would get to check their blood pressure once a year, or they're checking their glucometer when they feel like, maybe once a week. It would be much like driving down Interstate 5 from Seattle to San Diego wearing blindfolds. Whereas using the technology that's available now, whether it's wearable devices like smart scales, like continuous glucose monitors, like ambulatory blood pressure monitoring, like your Fitbit or your Apple Watch that can help you monitor your movement, it's driving with your eyes wide open, like the baby on the other end of the screen. It's driving with their eyes wide open down Interstate 5. So you can actually in real time get that feedback. That's about putting the consumer in the driver's seat. And I have a friend who's an endocrinologist, and we were eating dinner one day, and after dinner, his wife brought out this wonderful cheesecake. And we're eating this cheesecake, and we started talking about wearable continuous glucose monitors. And he jokingly, we're just having fun, and he said, "Oh yeah, I got to test one for a week because the company wanted to test them." And jokingly, he said, "Well, if you were wearing that continuous glucose monitor right now, you would not be eating that cheesecake." And neither one of us even has any insulin resistance. But that's the power of having instant feedback, right? If you had that instant feedback from a device that could tell you in real time what the effect of that decision was, you probably would make a different decision. That's the power of putting the consumer in the driver's seat so that we can make our own decisions. I don't know how many people are familiar with this image, but this is a picture of a very famous pair of magicians. Their name are Penn Jillette and Teller. And I only show this because Penn Jillette lost over 100 pounds. And this was completely done with coaching on Skype through his health coach and through keeping food log and exercise log, while his health coach, who was sitting 2,000 miles away, was able to coach him. And he's a big proponent of the plant-based diet and a big supporter of lifestyle medicine. And more so, if you look into really famous, successful, healthy, good-looking people, artists, movie actors all over the world, they're adopting this way of eating. So as a lifestyle medicine physician, I often get asked about where to get your information. Where do you get your information? So I want to spend the next few minutes, if we're talking about disruptive innovations, is think about some innovative ways in which you could empower yourself and then in turn empower your patients to get the right information. So we often start talking about apps that are available on the iPhone or on an Android phone. And I really love nutritionfacts.org. This was an organization that actually started by one of our lifestyle medicine pioneers, like Dr. Michael Greger, who wrote How Not to Die. And he's got these wonderful 4-minute videos on just about any question that you might have on lifestyle medicine. There's numerous podcasts in the iTunes podcast store. Some of my favorite podcasters, there's a guy by the name of Rich Roll, who's really good. And there's many others. I'm sure there's Spanish ones as well. The Daily Dozen is a good app. The Dirty Dozen is another one that talks about what foods you should be buying organic and which ones don't really matter. MyFitnessPal is a popular one. I think they got bought out by Under Armour, so it's Under Armour MyFitnessPal. And then Chronometer, where you can actually put in pictures of what you're eating, and it'll tell you all the nutritional information about that food. So exercise, we talk about forks is food, exercise is feet. And I love this cartoon. What fits your busy schedule better, exercising 1 hour a day or being dead 24 hours a day? Now that's using a scare tactic, and that doesn't always work. But I think it's a funny way to express the point that just exercising 60 minutes for 5 days a week, that's 300 minutes a week. If you're doing it moderately vigorous exercise, it's a powerful way to maintain weight and even lose weight. But some of the good apps that I really enjoy that I share with my patients are the 7-minute workout that's available on the App Store, Under Armour Walk, Nike Run Club, and also the Fitbit app is loaded with great information. So again, it's about empowering the consumer, and that's the disruption. The disruptive innovation that lifestyle medicine is all about giving the power back to the consumer. We don't need to be the people holding on to this information. It should be democratized. And in this current time, with technology that enables us to do so, we should be sharing that good information because humanity needs it now more than ever. The third probably big and possibly the biggest piece is the mind-related stuff. Because if you think about it, if your mind is in the right place, you're automatically able to make the right choices in terms of what you're going to eat and exercise and stay away from bad habits like smoking and drinking. If you can be mindful and if your mind is in the right place. If you want to know the meaning of life, this guru says, have you tried Googling it? Because you can probably find out on Google too. The jokes aside, when someone asks me what my two favorite apps are of all the apps that are on my iPhone, I would say Calm and Headspace. Calm is my absolutely favorite app. It's a subscription app, but it's not that expensive, and they have amazing meditations and sleep aids on there as well. Headspace is a wonderful one. 10% Happier is great. I love that too. Insight Timer is an app that you can get at the iTunes App Store or Google Play. And then Simple Habit has a bunch of 5-minute meditations for busy people. And so these apps will take care of your mind, take care of mindfulness, the stress component, and also help you sleep better. Speaking of sleep, sleep is probably the most neglected master lever of health. And it is absolutely a keystone in lifestyle medicine. And we're not sleeping enough, we're not getting enough quantity or quality of sleep that we need. Sleep is a physiological process. It should be part of our day. We haven't evolved out of this need to sleep on average 8 hours out of 24, which means we're sleeping 1/3 of our lives. So if we haven't evolved out of that in how many millions of years that humans have been walking on the planet, it must be pretty important. And you know what? Scientists are telling us that it is, because that's when we consolidate our memory, that's when we reset our metabolism, that's when our food cravings, our food choices, even our appetite is regulated in sleep. And many of us know that when we go through phases when we couldn't sleep because we're working a night shift or we're doing some training where we're required to stay up late, or we're studying for exams and night after night we're staying up till 12, 1, 2 in the morning, we know that our health has suffered in those times. And you can actually induce, in a lab, you can induce insulin resistance with sleep deprivation in as little as 3 days. So some of the key points in sleep hygiene are about light, right? Controlling the ambient light, being out in the natural light in the daytime so that the body knows the difference between day and night. And when the lights go out, the melatonin kicks in, and that's when we fall asleep. Maintaining a cool temperature, right? The core temperature needs to decrease for us to be able to be in a deep sleep. And again, even though our devices are keeping us awake and alert and activated all the time, there are also some wonderful devices, the wonderful apps that can help us to get good quality sleep. And the wearable devices do a good job with that too. So really it's about educating, inspiring, empowering, and igniting our patients. The way that you can do that is, as Gandhi says, be the change that you want to see in the world. Success is not a straight line from point A to point B. Success is more like a zigzag path that goes in and out and all around to get from point A to point B. But the idea is that I want you to practice every day. We need to, again, role model that behavior and act as the Google Maps, as the GPS for our patients, for the people that come to us for advice and for help, and to help guide them in the right direction. And the best way that we can do that is by following those habits ourselves, focusing on feet, fork, fingers, sleep, stress, and love. And I can't emphasize that enough. And when we do that, we can inspire and empower everybody that we meet to do the same. I had to put in a copy of the cover of my book. I won't spend too much time on that. And without further ado, we will wrap it up and take some questions and answers. I'm grateful for your time. Dennis Prager says, grateful people are good people, and good people are happy people. So you don't have to be happy to be grateful. If you're grateful, you'll automatically be happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Beach. What a wonderful and enriching presentation. As most of the things I've seen and heard some podcasts about you. So I just love the way that you said that put the consumers on the, how do you say, on the car seat, on the front of the car seat. And that's what we've been working on. In Mexico, I think, I don't want to see it like a long path, but we are a lot of people working to shorten that path in many countries too. So thank you very much. I don't know, no sé si hay alguna pregunta en el chat, las vamos a ir diciendo. Yes, there's a question. Indira Nolasco asks, what's the difference between life stimulation medicine and functional medicine, doctor?
So actually, it's very, very different. And that is actually one of the questions that comes up in the exams if anybody's preparing for the International Board of Lifestyle Medicine exam. Lifestyle medicine is about the evidence-based application of principles of making lifestyle choices. Again, it's a huge emphasis on food, which is forks, feet, exercise, fingers is healthy habits, sleep, stress, and love. The functional medicine gets into a lot of a biochemical basis of disease and looking at supplementation to change biochemical processes. And not all of it completely adds up in the way that they're sometimes jumping from sort of lab bench to bedside, and the transition is like, where's the translation? Where you're taking something that makes sense on a biochemistry level, but then you're translating that into, in vivo. And that's where we really don't follow that, and it doesn't make a ton of sense. And then in functional medicine, they're doing a lot of lab tests and then ordering supplements, and there's specific supplements to try to alter biochemical pathways, which again, in lifestyle medicine, our emphasis is on food and using food as medicine rather than taking a supplement that you have to order and trying to alter a biochemical pathway.
We have another question. Victor Villalobos asks, hi, I read in your book about the concepts of chakras. Would like to know if for the attributes of each chakra could be used to structure a lifestyle medicine plan.
Yeah, so I had mentioned that it was really to draw the parallel between the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and sort of what this ancient chakra system describes. So again, the basic needs are of safety and security, and that's a lot of your root chakras, the base chakras. And then the heart chakra is about connection. And you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, as you go higher up the needs, once you know that you're safe and secure, right? What else? What do you want then in your neighborhood? You want to know your neighbors. You want to have friends. You want to have relationships. And then you go up higher into the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it talks about self-actualization. And similarly in the chakra system, as you go higher, as your basic needs are met, then you're talking about connection with a higher force than yourself, and you're self-actualizing. You're connecting with nature or connecting with something more spiritual. So I think it was kind of an abstract way. I thought it was really cool that the parallels were there between the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the chakras, and then also our brain, right? You think about the Paleolithic brain, or sort of the reptilian brain, then you think about evolution to the mammalian brain, and finally to the primate brain, which is more about connections, more about growth and contribution. If somebody asks me what's my greatest need right now, I feel safe, I have enough money, I have good relationships. So what I'm the most in need, what I want to do is to help other people to grow and contribute, to feel like I'm useful. And that would be the highest level of the need in any of those systems. And I thought it was really cool that in the chakra system, they described something like that 8,000 years ago.
Okay. Victor is asking something. I have a question too about that. Victor is asking, what are your responsibilities as the Global Director of the Lifestyle Medicine Global Alliance? That's my question too, because we all want to be in the same channel, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, so the Lifestyle Medicine Global Alliance is our attempt to form a standardized network of lifestyle medicine professionals worldwide. And eventually our goal is to actually make this part of the World Health Organization. So in my mind, the way that I like to understand it in a very simple way is you think about the United Nations, and there's 195 countries in the world, and they're all members of the United Nations. So to be a member, you have to meet a certain minimum requirements, and then there are levels of membership too. So the most powerful members would be the United Nations Security Council. So Lifestyle Medicine Global Alliance is, again, about maintaining those standards so that everybody meets the bare minimum of the standards for lifestyle medicine. But then we form this world community, and it's a network. And what that would get to the member countries would be to be able to have the exam there. The International Board of Lifestyle Medicine, the IBLM right now is part of under LMGA until it spins off as its own entity once we join the World Health Organization. So it's a way in which we can maintain standards so that we can help keep it science-based, evidence-based in the house of medicine. It's not the same as functional medicine or Ayurveda or chiropractic or homeopathy. This is science-based, evidence-based disease reversal movement, and it's none of that other stuff. And I think that's what Lifestyle Medicine Global Alliance helps us to do. So my role is to talk at a clinician level to be able to explain that to other clinicians and help develop leadership in those countries so that, again, we are part of the same family and we can all be talking in the same language.
And standardized.
Standardized.
Right. Perfect. Carolina is asking, what's in your opinion the most difficult obstacle that still has to be overcome for the lifestyle medicine?
Well, probably the biggest obstacles are ourselves, really. If you think about it, in the house of medicine, in the way that we think, we are trained to think in a certain way. And I think our patients are reflective of the same thing. I mean, I've seen my own colleagues and they'll say, oh, yeah, but that doesn't really work. I know Ornish diet, I heard about it, but nobody's going to do that. It doesn't work. And instead of saying, talking about it in a way that's, hey, this is powerful. This can really work. I've seen it work. I've got so many examples. In my practice, I have examples of people that have reversed their diabetes. I have one of my favorite patients, and he goes and does talks with me because he was on 160 units of insulin. He already had bypass surgery when we met. And in fact, he's the one who clued me in. It's a funny story. So this patient comes to me, and this is our very first meeting. And unbeknownst to me, he was actually interviewing me and trying to figure out if I would be open to a different way of thinking. And when he figured out that, I looked like I was fairly open-minded, he left me with a Kindle, his personal Kindle. And he's like, I just want you to have this, just borrow it. There's some books in there. Let me know what you think. And I was going to Honduras for a medical mission trip, and there was some downtime. And I ended up reading Joel Fuhrman's book, The End of Diabetes. And I ended up reading The Starch Solution by John McDougall. I mean, those were the books that were in there. And then I go back to him and I said, oh, you tricked me. You wanted me to read this stuff. Why didn't you tell me? And this is so cool. And he ended up being, a big proponent of this, unbeknownst to me. And it ended up being such a beneficial thing for him. He lost about 50 pounds. And like I said, he was able to get off 150 units of insulin. And he's now in his 70s, and he hasn't had any cardiac issues or any, not even any ER visits. And he rides his bicycle for 45 minutes every day, and he's having the time of his life. So it is powerful. And if we have those examples and we talk about it in that way, I think that can be a lot more powerful than if we think about it as just as barriers and something that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm, that's right. Alexander Gruam asks, several major health institutions in the USA have implemented complementary and alternative medicine services. The NIH itself has an area working on this regard. Has the lifestyle medicine movement participated in any such initiatives?
So again, just like we're not functional medicine, we're also not complementary and alternative medicine. We like to think of ourselves as in the house of medicine already, and we have evidence to show disease reversal. So we're looking at things like type 2 diabetes, coronary artery disease, hypertension, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease reversal. again, using evidence-based, science-based methodology. And yes, we are talking to Congress, for example. There's ACLM is doing advocacy within the US Congress. We're looking at talking to insurance companies, changing reimbursements, making it so that this is considered as mainstream as therapy, just like talking to a dietitian. Well, the dietitian should be reimbursed for helping someone reverse their disease, not just talk about maintaining the disease. Disease, not disease maintenance, it should be disease reversal. I'm not sure if that answers the question, but I think that broadly speaking, the question was, what are we doing to sort of expand the movement and make it into mainstream, if I understood it correctly.
Dr. Alexander, if you have another question, just let us know. Nos pueden anotar las preguntas también en español si quieren y podemos traducirlas. I think just a brief thing, one of the major problems here in Mexico is that we tend to say that it's an interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary treatment. But we barely interact with each other, like doctors, dietitians, exercise experts. They just send the patients with these experts, but they don't interact between them. They don't share one file from the patient. So there's a lot of information that is getting lost in the way because of the lack of communications between the professionals. So I think that's one of the main obstacles here in Mexico. We have another question, so I'm gonna say it. Victor also has another question. How would you recommend us to try to include into the medical narrative the idea that chronic diseases are indeed reversible?
That's true. You think about the narrative that we've all, read was that these chronic diseases are chronic and progressive and a one-way street. And the narrative has already started to change. Look at what the bariatric surgeons are saying. The bariatric surgeons talk about bariatric surgery as a surgical cure for diabetes. And with bariatric surgery, someone might lose 100 pounds in a year, but their diabetes is cured the next week. So there is a biochemical switch that is going off. So we know that these aren't, I think it's, at some level, it's understood that these diseases can be reversed. And, we need to advocate for that and talk about, well, what is the definition of reversal? And that does exist. It's not something that we are making up, but I think it's a matter of building that critical mass of people that are like-minded. And I think that's what Lifestyle Medicine Global Alliance is all about, is that if we have, 100 or 500 or 5,000 physicians, dietitians, practitioners in Mexico who believe that, then we have someone in every province and we have our own network. And if you have someone that you want to refer in a different part of the country, they are part of a coalition. And hey, I know my friend over here in your part of the country that practices in this way. But yes, a lot of times it does feel like an uphill battle because you look around anywhere you go and you see people that are clearly, obese, morbidly obese, or not going in the right direction.
And it's increasing. Sergio Dicter asks, Dr. Panjak, what would you think about bioidentical hormonal replacement therapy?
So once again, lifestyle medicine is about food, it's about exercise, it's about sleep, stress, love. Hormone therapy may have a place. It's not really one of the core things that we would promote. We are all about creating the optimal conditions in the body so that the body produces its own testosterone or estrogen or whatever it is that we're trying to do by giving it the right raw materials in terms of the lifestyle. And oftentimes, you go to a practitioner who's practicing in this way and they're quick to jump to put you on some sort of injection or some sort of medication. And rather than treating the root cause, maybe your testosterone is low because you're not sleeping or you're chronically stressed or you're drinking too much tequila. So let's address that. You remove the root cause and the problem will take care of itself. But there may be, in some circumstances, there may be a role where someone has a pituitary tumor or they have some other reason why they need a hormone replacement. But more often than not, it's a matter of removing the obstacles and letting the body go back to homeostasis on its own. One of the biggest reasons why we talk about low testosterone in men, and one of the biggest reasons is that visceral adipose tissue has aromatase, and that'll aromatize the testosterone and convert it into estrogen. So if we can decrease visceral adipose tissue, you will automatically raise your natural testosterone level.
Yeah, that's right. I think one more question, if you have the time. Okay. Fernando Fon asks, what could be your advice for someone who wants to start to change his or her habits in order to follow lifestyle medicine precepts?
I would say, start small. So you start with whatever you have and wherever you are, and you start small. If somebody's trying to change their eating habit and it's too much to completely change what they're doing, maybe they can just commit to changing one meal a week. And over time that will gradually progress to maybe one meal a day that they can eat, in a certain way. And one easy one that is sort of within reach for many people is to commit to eating a salad for lunch for most days of the week or all days of the week. That way, at least for one meal, you got this huge load of vegetables, fruit and vegetables and colorful plant foods. For one meal, you loaded it up, and then you can do whatever you want. There was another one that was sort of a catchy movement that was going on for a while. It was VB6, vegan before 6. So it's like, okay, so at least for lunch, somebody was, breakfast and lunch, they were vegan, and for dinner, they can have a piece of chicken or salmon if they want, along with, again, with on a big bed of vegetables. But that's not what's happening. I mean, in all my trips, especially to Latin America, all I see is packaged processed foods everywhere, and people are smoking everywhere, and they're, eating junk food out of packets. I think a lot of that American fast food culture got exported to rest of the world, and I think we need to work on reversing that.
That's right. Well, thank you very much for this. It was such a pleasure and honor to have you here, and I hope this is not the last one. It was the first, but not the last one. It was such a rich talk. So thank you very much, and see you next time.
Very good. Thank you very much. It's my honor. It's my pleasure to talk to you. You were a great hostess, and I love the questions. And yes, I would be delighted to continue this conversation anytime.
And in case if someone has some more questions, maybe send it through email, and we can make them send them to Dr. Panjak. So I'm going to switch to Spanish. Muchísimas gracias a todos, y nada más les quería dar el último aviso. El día 15 de diciembre, el martes 15 de diciembre, va a haber otro evento, una discusión de un panel de expertos titulado Caleidoscopio del estrés, afectivo, neurológico y hormonal y estilo de vida. Van a ser solamente para profesionales de la salud también, y les repito, es el martes 15 de diciembre a las 8 p.m. De todas formas, seguramente tanto Víctor como Caro lo estarán poniendo en el chat y anunciando en redes. Y pues muchas gracias a todos, y thank you again. It was such a pleasure and an honor, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye-bye.